In the early days of World War II, while the world was engulfed in conflict, Australia found itself facing an unexpected dilemma, not one involving enemy troops or naval battles, but rather a peculiar adversary, the emu. Yes, emus, the large flightless birds native to Australia, became the unlikely protagonists in a bizarre chapter of history that has largely been forgotten. It all began in 1932, long before the war escalated. After World War I, many Australian soldiers were granted land in Western Australia to farm as a part of a soldier settlement scheme. However, the land proved to be inhospitable and challenging. The soldiers faced droughts, poor soil, and a lack of resources. To make matters worse, a massive flock of emus descended upon the region, wreaking havoc on the crops that the struggling farmers had managed to cultivate. As these birds, standing nearly 6 feet tall, gobbled up the wheat and trampled the fields, the farmers grew increasingly desperate. They turned to the government for help, and in 1932, the Australian military intervened to assist in the Emu War. The soldiers were equipped with machine guns and sent to the Campion district, where the emus were wreaking havoc. Upon arrival, the soldiers quickly discovered that the emus were surprisingly elusive. The first attempt to cull the birds was met with chaos. The emus scattered in all directions, making it nearly impossible for the soldiers to target them effectively. After a few days of frustrating encounters, they managed to kill a mere dozen birds while the rest of the flock continued to thrive. The soldiers regrouped and devised a new strategy, hoping to outsmart the emus. They set up a barricade to funnel the birds into a confined area, but once again, the emus proved their intelligence. They simply split into smaller groups and escaped through the gaps in the fence, leaving the soldiers bewildered and defeated. As the days turned into weeks, the campaign dragged on, and the situation became increasingly comical. The press began to cover the war extensively, dubbing it the Great Emu War. Articles flooded the newspapers, depicting the soldiers as bumbling hunters unable to outmatch the crafty birds. The emus became a symbol of resilience, and the soldiers' efforts were met with growing ridicule. Eventually, the military conceded defeat. In December of 1932, the Emu War was officially declared over.
In the heart of the Roman Empire, during the reign of Emperor Augustus, a peculiar event took place that has been largely forgotten by history, yet had profound implications for one particular legion and the very fabric of Roman pride. It was 9 AD when the Roman legions, under the command of General Publius Quintilius Varus, were stationed in Germania. Varus, a seasoned commander, was tasked with the difficult job of maintaining Roman control over the rebellious Germanic tribes. The Romans had recently expanded their territories, and tensions were running high. A series of skirmishes had erupted between the Romans and the local tribes, but the Romans maintained a firm grip on their newly acquired lands, until one fateful day. As Varus and his legions patrolled the dense, foreboding forests of Germania, they faced an unexpected challenge. The Germanic tribes, led by a charismatic chieftain named Arminius, were not just resisting, they were plotting. Arminius, a man who had once served as an auxiliary in the Roman army, had gained Varus's trust. Little did Varus know, Arminius was a master strategist with plans to unite the Germanic tribes against the Roman invaders. This tension reached its peak when, in the late summer of that year, Varus received alarming reports of a large uprising forming in the region. Ignoring warnings and emboldened by his previous successes, Varus marched his 3 legions, approximately 20,000 men, into a trap set by Arminius. The Romans were accustomed to the discipline of formation and order, but in the wild, unfamiliar terrain of Germania, they would find themselves at a severe disadvantage. The Roman legions advanced into the Teutoburg forest where they were ambushed. The battle that ensued was catastrophic for the Romans. The Germanic tribes, utilizing their knowledge of the land and striking swiftly, overwhelmed Varus's forces. The once proud legions found themselves disoriented and demoralized, falling one by one to the relentless attacks of the united Germanic warriors. But the most shocking blow to Roman pride came not just from the loss of lives, but from the disappearance of one of their most sacred symbols, the eagle standard. Each Roman legion carried an eagle known as the aquila, which represented the honor and spirit of the legion. When the last remnants of Varus's forces fell in battle, the eagle of the Roman legion, the Legio 17, was lost in the chaos. The eagle standard was not merely a piece of metal, it was a symbol of loyalty, honor, and the very identity of the legionaries. To lose it was to lose everything. As the dust settled and the echoes of battle faded, Arminius came upon the fallen battlefield. Among the dead Romans, he spotted the eagle, its gleaming bronze head tarnished but still majestic. He knew the significance of this trophy, not just for his people, but for the Romans themselves. With a triumphant roar, he lifted the eagle high above his head, rallying the Germanic tribes. They celebrated their victory, but Arminius understood that this was only the beginning of a much larger struggle. Meanwhile, back in Rome, news of the disaster reached the Senate. The loss of 3 legions and the eagle was a blow that shook the very foundation of Roman power. Emperor Augustus, known for his calculated approach to governance, was furious. He called an emergency meeting of his advisors. The Senate debated fiercely, each senator aware that this loss could embolden other tribes throughout the empire. The very notion of Roman invincibility was at stake. Augustus, keen on restoring Roman honor, dispatched a new general, Germanicus, to Germania. Germanicus was young, charismatic, and eager to prove himself. He understood the psychological impact of the lost eagle and made it his mission to retrieve it, not just to reclaim the symbol, but to send a clear message. Rome would not be challenged without consequence. As Germanicus prepared his campaign, he learned of the Germanic tribes' celebrations surrounding their victory. He plotted a surprise attack. Through clever maneuvering and the element of surprise, he led his troops into the heart of the Germanic territory, striking when they least expected it. On the night of the attack, as the Germans feasted and reveled in their victory, Germanicus's forces descended upon them, fierce and calculated. The Romans fought valiantly, and amidst the chaos, Germanicus spotted Arminius, who still clutched the eagle as a trophy. The 2 men, once allies, now stood on opposite sides of the battlefield. In a fierce confrontation, Germanicus challenged Arminius. The 2 engaged in a brutal fight, and as the battle raged around them, the fate of the eagle hung in the balance. In a moment of sheer determination, Germanicus managed to wrest the eagle from Arminius's grip. In the decisive battle between the Roman troops led by General Germanicus and the Germanic tribes under Arminius, Germanicus succeeds in reclaiming the eagle. Despite his victory, he realizes that Roman power is not invulnerable. Disappointed, Arminius retreats to unite the tribes and prepare for future conflicts. The story concludes with the understanding that the conflict between Rome and the Germans is far from over, as both sides brace themselves for new challenges, while the legend of Arminius and Germanicus enters the annals of history. Welcome, dear listeners, to a lesser-known chapter of World War II, a story filled with deception, creativity, and the power of illusion. This is the tale of the Ghost Army, a top-secret unit that played a crucial role in the Allied victory, yet remains largely forgotten by history. Our story begins in 1943, during a pivotal moment in the war. The Allied forces were preparing for a major invasion of Europe, specifically Operation Overlord, the Normandy landings. However, the success of this operation depended not only on brute strength, but also on strategy and cunning. In the midst of this planning, the US Army decided to create a unique unit, officially known as the 23rd Headquarters Special Troops. This unit was unlike any other in the American military. Comprised of artists, designers, and sound engineers, the Ghost Army was tasked with one extraordinary mission: deception. Imagine a battalion of inflatable tanks, fake artillery and sound equipment designed to create the illusion of a massive army. The Ghost Army's soldiers, many of whom were artists by trade, crafted life-sized rubber replicas of tanks and trucks, painting them with meticulous detail to fool enemy reconnaissance. Their first major operation took place in France in the summer of 1944. As the Allies planned the invasion of Normandy, the Ghost Army was dispatched to create a diversion. They set up their inflatable tanks in various locations, creating the appearance of a large armoured division poised to attack. But it wasn't just about the inflatable decoys. The Ghost Army also excelled in sound deception. Using amplifiers and speakers, they played recordings of tank noises, troop movements, and even the sounds of heavy machinery. Imagine the confusion on the German side when they heard what they believed to be a massive build-up of Allied forces nearby. One of the most significant operations took place in the summer of 1944 as part of the larger deception plan known as Operation Bodyguard. The Ghost Army was stationed near the French town of Arras, where they staged elaborate setups to mislead the enemy about the timing and location of the main Allied assault. Under the cover of night, the Ghost Army worked tirelessly to create their illusions. They inflated their rubber tanks, set up fake artillery, and deployed sound equipment to simulate the sounds of an encamped army. The soldiers, artists, and engineers became both actors and stagehands in a grand performance of deception. As dawn broke, the Ghost Army was ready to execute their most audacious plan yet. They sent out patrols to gather intelligence and report back on the enemy's movements, ensuring that they could align their ruse with the German forces' expectations. The goal? To convince the enemy that the real invasion would occur at a different location, away from the actual landing sites in Normandy. As the Allied forces landed on the beaches of Normandy on June 6, 1944, the Ghost Army executed their deception flawlessly. German commanders, believing that a significant attack was imminent in Arras, diverted their troops and resources to counter this fabricated threat. The success of Operation Overlord was bolstered by these efforts, as the Ghost Army's actions played a crucial role in drawing enemy attention away from the beaches where the real invasion was taking place. But the Ghost Army's influence did not end with Normandy. Throughout the summer and fall of 1944, they continued to stage elaborate deceptions across Europe. They created fake radio transmissions, set up inflatable aircraft, and even used camouflage techniques to mislead enemy reconnaissance. The unit operated in various locations, including the Battle of the Bulge, where their efforts to misdirect German forces were critical. Yet, despite their significant contributions, the Ghost Army remained shrouded in secrecy. The unit's operations were classified, and many of its members returned home after the war without ever receiving recognition for their extraordinary work. It wasn't until decades later that the story of the Ghost Army began to emerge, thanks to the efforts of veterans who wanted to share the truth of their service. In 2013, the US Congress finally recognized the Ghost Army for its unique contributions to the war, awarding them a Congressional Gold Medal. This gesture, though long overdue, was a testament to the creativity and bravery of those who served in this remarkable unit. So as we reflect on the story of the Ghost Army, let us appreciate not only the courage of those who fought on the front lines, but also the ingenuity of those who operated behind the scenes. Their work exemplified the power of creativity in the face of adversity, showing us that success in war and in life often depends on more than just strength and numbers. It requires strategy, wit, and sometimes a little bit of illusion. The legacy of the Ghost Army serves as a reminder of the many unsung heroes of history. While the soldiers who stormed Normandy are rightly celebrated, the artists and engineers who crafted deception played a crucial role in that victory. Their story is a testament to the fact that every contribution, no matter how unconventional, can have a profound impact on the outcome of larger events. In conclusion, the Ghost Army reminds us that in any battle, whether on the fields of war or in our daily lives, creativity and purpose can lead us to victory. Their commitment to their mission, their camaraderie, and their ability to adapt and innovate in the face of challenges are lessons we can all take to heart. As we move forward, let us honor their legacy by embracing creativity in our own pursuits, understanding that sometimes the most powerful weapon we have is our ability to think outside the box. Thank you for joining me in this exploration of the Ghost Army. Their story, though lesser known, is one of triumph, resilience, and the extraordinary impact of a purpose-driven mindset. As we remember these brave men, let us also strive to learn from their ingenuity and courage in our own lives. Thank you for listening, and I hope you found this story as inspiring as the men who lived it.